Hi guys, I'm T. If you don't know my story, been an addict off and on for 15 years, been sober 3 good years, and I've been in prison. It's nothing I'm proud about, but I share it just to share my story and hopefully raise awareness. And also help other people that may be going through the struggle that, seeing my story could potentially change lives. That's my only goal here. The first thing that you have to understand about prison is that it is nothing like the streets. It is a very stressful, difficult, scary, even at times, environment. Yes, I'm filming outside. The kids are running out their energy, so I figured I would make a video about prison. So that's why, if it's poor quality and audio sucks, that's why, and I'm sorry. Prison has its own culture, its own hierarchies, and their own rules. I could sit here all day and explain what prison is like, jail is like, addiction, but honestly, you will never understand it unless you've been there and done that. And honestly, I would never wish it on my worst enemy. It doesn't matter how many shows you've watched, like Orange is the New Black. Now, I do understand, and I will say so myself, that, okay, Orange is the New Black is nothing like prison. A lot of things that they were able to do, but jail and prison are so different, and Orange is the New Black is based off federal. So from what I've heard, federal is a lot better, a lot easier, and more ways to do your time. Just like prison is way different than jail. Like, jail is hard time to me. I'd rather, if I were to do any type of time, I'd rather do prison time, because there's just so many things you could do. Go to school, you could work and get paid for it. At least the prison I've been to, I know some work you for days taken off your sentence, but the prison I've been to, they pay you so you could work, you could go to school. They make you get your high school diploma, so if you go to prison and you don't have your GED or high school diploma, they will make you do it, which is good, I think. I've never personally been to federal, but if you watch Orange is the New Black, like, no. Okay, that is like, it's just not the same. When it comes to prison, even jail, every facility is different. It just depends on how they run it. Usually there's like an open dorm where there's a big open room with a bunch of bunk beds in it and a bunch of women, or there's a closed dorm, which is basically a 2-man cell. Now, in jail, before I went to prison, there were different levels depending on your charges. So if you were like a level 3, say, you were in a 2-man cell, and lockdown time was at like 5:45 at night till 5:45 in the morning. So went to level 4 though. They had 12 women to a room, and they were just big dorms with like see-through windows, and I would always hate being by the window because you could literally see into the dorm next to you. So like if you're sleeping towards the window and you like open your eyes, the girl on the other side in the other dorm laying right next to you, like the only thing that's in between you is the plexiglass pretty much. And it's just weird. Like, you open your eyes, she could be like looking at you or something. Like, it's strange. But so that's jail. But like I said, every facility is different. Now, the prison that I went to here, I've been twice. First time was 18 months. Second time was 7 months. Where I'm from, the prison that they had, known as the Draper Prison in Utah, was a 2-man cell. But what was cool about this one was that so in jail, typically when they lock you down, they shut your door and you have no control over it. Well, when I went to prison in my first time, it was so different because you were able to close your door and you could pop your own door. basically unlock it yourself. So if you walked in and closed your door, you could just automatically unlock it. Now, if it was count time and stuff like that, typically you would have to shut your door and keep your door shut, and you can't pop your door open. But once count time's over, you have access in and out of your room, which was really cool. They had regular toilets, not like metal or steel or whatever it is, porcelain toilets, and also you could control your own lights. You had your own light switch that you could turn on and off. You also had your own plugs for your electronics. A TV you could buy, which, nice, what a great way to spend your time, I guess. Instead of having like a big TV in the center, because it's always so loud and echoey, and sometimes you couldn't hear the TV, or it was so loud that people in there were just louder, so it was just awful. So being able to have your own TV, nice. You could buy alarm clocks, alarm clock with a radio, and even a hot pot. Hot pot, basically put water in it and it heats it up. Because at night, you would have to lock down for the night, typically 9:30 for the night till morning. Now, in the main common area, they did have a hot pot for women who couldn't afford, because not everybody gets money. So there's always like a main hot pot in the prison, and even the jail I was in, we would clean and pass inspections for the hot pot. And also, I remember like just prison feeling a lot more homish in a way than jail. Like when I left jail and went to prison, I gotta tell you, for the first time, I was so scared. I was terrified. I just had a baby. I didn't know anybody. I was so scared. I was sent to prison 1 week after I had a baby, and I deserved it, right? Luckily, I had a furlough. A furlough is basically where a judge will let you, if like a family member passes away or whatever, a judge will grant you like a furlough to get out of jail and go to a funeral or whatever. So before I was sentenced to prison, I was luckily had that furlough in place so that I was able to go have my baby in peace without being shackled to the bed or anything like that. And after spending 4 or 5 days in the hospital, the cops came to the hospital and picked me up. So, but I just remember being terrified, because you have to think, in jail, like I said at the beginning of my story, I've been an addict off and on for 15 years. That means I was in and out of jail as well for a good 10 years. I didn't go to prison for the first time until 2020. So I was just used to jail, basically. And it was always so dirty, always so loud, it just sucked, okay? But I was so scared to go to prison, and commissary also was a lot cheaper in prison. You could buy like boxes of cereal. You could buy like zebra cakes, a full box of zebra cakes. You could buy like just a whole bunch of things. In county, I remember the showers were always so cold. You never had a hot shower, ever. Not even a lukewarm, okay? And you would have to sit there and push the button. Like, it would run for like 5 seconds and then shut off. So you're in the middle of like washing out your hair, and then you're like, oh, water shuts off. So I remember like going into prison and being able to turn on the shower and have it run. And it was actually hot. And it was so nice. So it was just like, although that I was really scared to go to prison, it was just a lot different than what I was used to. Also, cleaning products, you were able to have access to bleach, cleaners, rags, whatever. Like, it was just so nice, because in jail, like after breakfast, they would bring in the mop and bucket, and you have to figure you're sharing that mop and bucket and those cleaners between 30 women, and people run and get to it, and then they stock up on the cleaners to put in their room, which is contraband. You weren't allowed to have it, but we kept it because, yeah, I would love to clean my room whenever I wanted, right? But so that was a huge difference, was being able to have cleaners at any time. All I had to do was ask. And then also, like getting a brand new pair of socks, a brand new pair of underwear, brand new bras, brand new uniforms, brand new everything. And in county, I don't even want to go there. Like, you wore used things. Like, even the white t-shirts, like, they had yellow stains on the armpits. Like, and don't even get me started on the underwear. Okay, just no. So that's why a lot of women wear pads in prison or in jail. Yeah, just gross. So that was another cool thing about prison was that you got all brand new stuff. It was all yours. Never used, never worn, never nothing. So that was really cool. And then also, they had buckets there where you were able to do your own laundry. Because remember, in prison, you could buy sweatshirts, thermals, socks, bras. They even had, like, bras, like, for, like me, bigger chested women. Like, actual bras, without the wire, of course. But you were able to get, like, a normal bra to wear instead of just, like, a sports bra. But you could buy laundry detergent, dryer sheets, that would make our room smell good, because obviously we didn't have a dryer. Unless you sent your clothes to laundry, which we never did. We always hand washed our own things, because you got to figure, like, you're spending $60 on a sweat outfit, because other people do laundry. It was mainly the men from where I've been that did the laundry, and a lot of times your laundry didn't go back. It came up missing, and it was just a struggle having to buy all that again, or, chancing sending it to laundry and then not getting it back. So that was pretty cool too. You could buy hangers. The rec yard, don't even get me started on the rec yard, y'all. Like, in jail, it was like, I've been to 2 different jails in my state. So one jail rec room was like a garage. There was no outside, no nothing. Like, it was just a garage, basically. And it was a little handball, and that's where you played. And the other county jail I've been to is actually outside, but all you could see is the sky. So you had big walls around you and fences, and all you could really see was the sky. That was it. But still, a lot better. But when I got to the prison grounds, it was nice because you had grass. You were able to plant flowers. There was people mowing the lawns, watering the lawn, like, just so many things. And it was so different from what I've ever been used to. And those are just a few things that I really remember about it. But I do remember being so scared. But I went with a girl who had been there before, and she really helped me through everything. And when I went down in 2020, that was like COVID. So I'm a good inmate. Like, I don't get in trouble. I'm not messy. Okay. So when I went to prison for the first time, like, you had to go into quarantine, and you spent 2 weeks. They didn't have rapid tests back then. So when you would get to prison, you were in your own cell by yourself, and 23-in-1 lockdown. That means 23 hours lockdown in your cell with 1 hour out. And you weren't allowed to go out with other women because we were all separated because of COVID. So when you got there, they would test you, and then you would have to wait a week, 2 weeks basically, and you had to pass 2 tests to be able to go into general population. So I just remember being so scared, so alone, being trapped in my room, not having anyone to talk to, not being able to sleep, and I had a C-section at that. So it was just the worst. And I've never done time like that. I've never done hard time like that. So that was really a tough time for me, but I got through it. And like I said, the girl that I went down with, she was in the room right next door to me, so it was really nice having her there. And then also, If you've never been to the prison, you have to set up your phone and they have to give you a PIN, so that could take days. And then you have to fill out a form with the name and number you want for your people to call. And you have to turn that in, and then so the whole mail thing, whoever it gets to, and then they have to enter in the number somehow. And you didn't know if they were approved. Like, it would take forever to get your paperwork back saying approved or not. And so just every time you got out for that hour, of course, you would shower and then, try your number and see if it went through. And I just remember not having a PIN, waiting to have my numbers approved. And so there was like those 2 whole weeks almost that I wasn't able to call home. And it was just so hard. Okay, so I already made a video about my first time in prison and everything, so you guys will have to go watch that. I'm getting off track. So back to the topic, in jail. Like I said, open dorms or the 2-man cell. Now, the prison I went to that they had out here forever was a 2-man cell. And then when they built this new prison, it was an open dorm. 60 women in one big room. No privacy, no nothing. And so I feel like that's where like a lot of the violence and a lot of the chaos came from, because there was just no privacy. Because my first time down, I saw one big fight. A girl got messed up, like broken face, a lot of broken things. It was intense. And that was the only fight I saw. And I'm sure there were a lot more, but I just didn't witness like I did the new prison. And I feel like because it was just one big open dorm room and nobody had their privacy, it was just hectic in there. I've lived in both an open dorm and a closed dorm 2-man cell. Now, the first way a woman could set you up in prison is you have to be careful, because they could lie, exaggerate, whisper, just add parts to a story that not even true. And it could be confusing at first, and you may not think, oh, how is this setting you up? I'll get there. But they could lie, exaggerate, and just add parts and whisper something to you that someone said about you to you. This may not seem like setting you up, but listen. The first way that you have to be careful, and you will not think, it will literally mind fuck you, because someone will, like I said, lie or tell you something that someone said about you to you, and they're looking for the reaction. So, like I said, there's a whole plot behind it. She could just be lying and making that up because they want you to react. They want you to go confront that person. They want you to go fight that person. They want you to react, basically. So although that may seem like, oh my gosh, thank you for telling me, I can't believe she would say that about me, and you would think that they're being your friend, when in reality, no. They're either wanting you out of the unit, and so if you fight, obviously you go to locked or the hole, basically the 23-1 lockdown. You get 1 hour out, and it's all you're stripped of all your privileges. So you have to be careful, and you can't always trust someone. That's the biggest thing, because you really want to. You'll find like a really cool, down to earth person that you think you just could jive with. In reality, like, you can't be too trusting when you're in there. So get in a fight, they're going to kick you out of the dorm. You're going to go to lock. You're going to move to a different dorm because you're fighting with somebody, and they don't want that in the prison, so you have to move. Whether it's you or the other girl, which typically if you're the aggressor, which, okay, someone just told me, so I'm going to go confront this girl because, bitch, why did you say this about me? So you would get moved. So you have to be careful. So like I said, it's a mindfuck. It could start off so innocent with someone telling you something, whispering something in your ear, or a rumor or whatever, but you have to be careful because it's very calculated and very strategic. So it could look a lot like this. You're sitting at the table playing cards, dominoes, whatever. And, you could have Maya come up to you and say, hey, T, I just want to let you know what Jennifer said about you. And you're just like, wait, what? Jennifer said what? So it could be something simple as that, or like, hey, when I was walking past your room, I saw your roommate like looking through your papers, or just something so stupid. So that is setup number one, is you have to be very careful because it will plant something in your head that's not even true. Like, why? I think it's because we're bored, basically. Or they just don't like you. Or, like I said, there's rules. There's people who run it. Like the prison I've been to, one lady ran that prison. And if she told you to go bitch slap Jennifer, you had to do it. If you did not do it, then next time you're taking a shit, you could be caught up with 3 different people rushing in that stall. So it's just wild. So it will literally eat at you because, again, we're all there for fucked up reason. We're all miss our family. We're all emotional. We're in a vulnerable place. We're in a stressful environment. We're not all sleeping right. Like, sometimes I wouldn't be able to sleep. Like, being in that open dorm in prison where you were able to have your own razors and buy razors. Like, I saw enough shanks, and shank is basically something that they make to just get you. I've seen too many of those made and razors being stomped on and broke just to make something that it was hard to even sleep in there. When you, like, in a 2-man cell, it's a lot comforting because your door's closed. So being in that open environment, it's going to really eat at you because, again, you're not sleeping right. You're not eating right. You're depressed. You're sad. You're lonely. You're scared. You're in a stressful environment. You're in survival mode all the time in there. So not only will it eat at you, but it will also, like, have you on edge. Like, okay, she's already talking bad about me. What does she have planned? What are her, like, you don't know because you're in survival mode. So it's like, now you're watching Jennifer. Like, what is this bitch about to do to me? Is she going to just pummel me while I'm in the shower? Is she going to get me while I'm taking a shit? Like, when I'm taking a nap or at sleep time, like, what? So you're on edge and you're just like in your head, and you're already in your head enough. So again, a big mind fuck. Then what if you get bad news? What if you don't see the board for a while, or something happens at home, or just whatever, you had a bad day? So that's already on your mind. You're already upset. You're already in the wrong place mentally, physically, emotionally, like just everyly, okay? And what's that going to do to you? It's going to literally eat at you and eat at you and eat at you until, like I said, like, what the fuck, I better get this girl before she gets me, or what is she planning? What is she doing? So it's just, again, all I could really sum it up to be is a mind fuck. And you have to be careful. And then you're like, well, I've never talked to Jennifer. I've never, like, why would she say those things about me? What is she talking about? Why is she doing, like, so you're just gonna, your wheels are spinning in your head constantly. And it's sick. It's sick. So you're upset, you got bad news, you're in your head, you had a bad day, and then you see that bitch Jennifer. And now you're fighting with Jennifer. And then you get kicked out. And depending on how bad the fight is, you could get more charges. People could press charges. Like, it's a dangerous, dangerous game. All because some bitch planted a seed in your head and said that Jennifer was talking shit about you, when in all reality, she didn't say shit. Now, another way is that girls could set you up in prison is, especially in an open dorm where everyone has access to your bed and your stuff, that's dangerous. They could always plant something in your stuff. And that actually happened to me my first time in prison. One girl was considered a lifer, and girls from the kitchen would send her extra stuff. Like if you got a diet tray, it would come into it would come on in a closed, like a takeout box. And so she would always get sent onions, green peppers, just all sorts of ingredients. Well, me beefing with these girls, they had access to a lot of ingredients from the kitchen from other girls sneaking it in for them. Well, I remember that I was beefing with these two ladies. There were two sisters, by the way. I loved Tina, but hated Tracy. I did not like Tracy. I think it was around Christmas. We all were pitching in, so people would get together and order certain things off commissary to pitch in. And I remember that she asked my roommate if we wanted to hold I can't remember what it was, but something that was from the kitchen that didn't come in commissary, that is considered contraband, and you can get written up for it, and you could get in trouble for it. It's a write-up, time and lock. You could get privileges taken away, commissary taken away, phone calls, visits, whatever. So I remember when my roommate came and asked me if, Tina and Tracy want to know if we keep this in our room. And I remember looking over, and Tracy's over there, across the room, just, looking at me, waiting to see my reaction. And I said no. Because, first off, I was beefing with her. I didn't like Tracy, and I didn't want to be set up. And so I was like, hell no. They could keep that shit in their room until we're ready to make the fucking cake or whatever we were making. And they could bring it out, and we could add it into our stuff, but we are not keeping it in our room. And I just remember that. So that is another way. And if you do get in trouble and someone plants something, and like I said, someone could snitch on you, or just a random shakedown, which shakedown cops come in, tear up your bed, they mess up all your stuff, mess up your bed, just throw everything everywhere. So that could happen, and you could have something that you didn't think you had and have it. No matter how much you plead to the cops, no, that was not mine. Watch the cameras. They don't give two fucks. So they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to rewind the tapes. The only time I think that they would ever watch the tapes is for the fight. For a fight. That's basically it. If that even. I mean, some just don't give a shit. And a lot of times in prison, you didn't really see the cops. You rarely saw a cop, whether they were coming to their rounds. So, inmates ran it. If you had an issue, you went and talked to... There was, a specific person that was hired to be, the unit mediator or whatever. So, if you had any type of issue, you went to her. And so, I remember... Tina was one of those people, and Tracy was basically the same position. And so if anyone in the unit had an issue, they would talk to Tina or Tracy. And so, again, it's just scary. You can't trust anybody, and that is one of the ways someone could set you up without you even knowing it, blindly or right in front of your face. If I would have been... That was my first time in prison. If I wasn't beefing with her, I would have been yeah, sure, let's do it, and she could have secretly told on me, and then I get in trouble for it. So if I hadn't been beefing with her, I probably would have agreed to it and allowed that shit to go in my room till our party, which is considered contraband, again, that you could lose privileges or get a write-up for. So cops could come in hella fast, but at the first prison, the closed dorm that I was at, our trays were delivered to us, and then someone would take the trays back to the kitchen. But at the new prison that they built, the open dorm, where everybody's just in one room together, well, they had a cafeteria. So basically, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you would have to get up and get dressed in your reds, which is basically your uniform. You couldn't wear your sweats or sweatshirts outside. Sometimes you could get away with it depending on who was on guard that day. But typically, you'd have to get dressed in your uniforms, which you don't really wear your uniforms when you're in prison unless you like are leaving the building, like I said, to go to eat, to school or work. You had to wear your reds. So that was scary, is having the open dorm and then going to the cafeteria, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because you never knew if cops were going through your stuff. A lot of times they didn't, but there were times where, just this last time when I was at the new prison, we'd come back and we wouldn't be allowed to go upstairs or go back into our little unit until they were done going through everything and searching your stuff. So it's really scary. So you just have to be very careful and just make sure that you know what you have, where you have it, and just because you never know. You never know what someone could try to plant something on you, like your face, and you're just dumb. Like the story I told. If I wasn't beefing with her, I probably would agree to it, and she could have secretly went and told on me. Or open dorm, anyone could just plant something because they don't like you, or they want you moved, or they want to see you in trouble. Like, I just think it was like boredom. A lot of times we're bored, so we need some action type thing. But yeah, so that's a second way someone could set you up in prison. Shakedowns are also scary because they put everybody on the wall. They either strip search you, which one girl goes into a stall. You have to take off all your clothes, lift up your breasts, lift up your belly if you got a little belly. You got to bend and cough, shake out your hair behind your ears, in your mouth, the whole thing. So shakedowns could be like that. They do random UAs as well. And also, not only are they tearing up all your stuff, but they could bring in the drug dog to sniff you out. Or a lot of times too, like when they do come in and they're like, okay, everybody on the wall, you have to get up and go. But even if you're like in your area, if there's a small chance that they aren't going to strip search you, because it doesn't happen all the time. So a lot of girls, don't really have time, but girls have their little purses they could stuff things in, put stuff in their bras, or even plant things in someone else's area so that they don't get caught with it. Or small chance if you hear wind or see like cops coming or a rumor spread, you hear, like you're on high alert all the time in there. So there are a lot of times where you would know, and you would there are times where they will shut off the water so that you don't flush things. So that was another clue. You could always it wasn't always a surprise. A lot of times they'll shut off the water before coming in. So inmates know pretty quickly that if the toilet isn't flushing, all right, everybody, let's figure something out because the water's off. You can't flush anything. So that's another big sign too. But even if you're strip searched and you're a girl and you have things in your little purse up front, then most likely it's not going to fall out. I remember in county, girls were using and they got caught because they were up all night, and just some people act really weird and crazy and they clean. So I remember I didn't use, obviously, and I peed for a girl. And we had little shampoo bottles, so it's small enough that you could pee in a bottle and they shove it up you. And that way, when you're about to pee, you're holding the cup and you could poke a hole with your finger in it. Well, I guess they did that and she passed, but they were still onto her, so they took her out again. So not only did I pee in a bottle once, but I peed in it twice. Okay, and they made her squat down and hold, and I guess when she squatted down, it fell out. That was gross. And so she got caught. And then she told on me. But luckily, the bubble lady, that's what we would call the lady that would speaker tweak. Basically, you have speakers in your room where they could sit in the bubble and listen to your conversation. So a lot of times girls get all sketched out and they'll put pads over their speakers. Or the bubble lady controls the doors for when cops do the walkthroughs. They open and let them out and stuff. But I remember that I've been to county so many times that I was in good graces with this bubble lady that she didn't write me up for peeing in the bottle for her. She was just like, she called me over the speaker. She's like, T. And they call you by your last name. But she's like, T, did you pee in the bottle for her? And I was like, and I'm looking around the room like, what do I say? And she's like, don't lie to me. I already know. And she's like, don't let me catch you do that again. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. So, and also another way that shakedown sucks is because anything could be considered contraband. Like if you have coffee or creamer or whatever in a different jar just to store it, they could take that because it's not in the right packaging. So you have to make sure that you have the right commissary and the right packaging and the right jars, because if not, they will dump it all out. They don't give two fucks. Okay, they don't care. And especially if it's in the wrong container, like they will dig out your deodorant. They will like dump out all your containers just to find stuff. Like if, and I feel like they only really do that if they have like an idea that you really truly do have something. That's where they go to the extreme. But there are times where they just don't give a shit and they will rip your pictures. Like the toothpaste that we get, we use it as glue for our pictures and calendars, whatever we want to put on the wall. So you have to be careful with that too, because all your papers and pictures could be torn and just thrown all over your books. Like, because there's so many ways you could hide things, like in a book, in the binder type area, just so many different ways. So they just come in and they will literally tear your shit up. And it's just like the aftermath going in. Like I remember in county and they did that. Every book that anybody had in their cell, when we walked back into the day room, all these books were just thrown out into the day room. Just tossed everywhere. So if you had a good book that you were reading, then you would have to hurry and get back in there and find that book, because my book, you know. And a lot of times you could order books. Family could send books in as long as it's from like Amazon or whatever. They have to order it and that place has to send it to the jail or prison. That way it's not coming from your family member. Yeah, so shakedowns are just awful. And they really don't care. But I do remember that in prison, like, I was messy. Not really messy. I just didn't fold my clothes. Okay, and I was so lucky to have a guy. He was like, I guess he's been there for a while, and he was training a guy on how to search things. And I just had, like, some of my sweats and my PJs and stuff, like, at the bottom of my bed, just thrown over there. And I remember this guy, he took apart my bed, he looked through all my clothes, and was just basically training the guy to look in, like, the waistband of your sweats and things like that. He literally folded up all of my clothes. He folded up my bedding, like, all neat and nice. And, like, people are like, what the fuck? Like, and honestly, that was, like, really cool, the officer. I just feel like he was training and he didn't want to be an asshole that day. And he folded my clothes and my bedding and just, I still had to, like, make my bed and everything again. But he didn't just rip everything off and throw it on the floor. And I still thank him till this day because they're awful. They don't have to be that nice. Like, I was just lucky to get him that day. And yeah, I was able to scoop up my clothes and put them in my little bin all nice and folded. Now, another way a girl could set you up in prison is by writing kites to the officers. Now, a kite is basically a note, and there are ways that you could, like, secretly hand them to the officers so it doesn't look so obvious. And So you have to be very careful with who you trust, who you talk to, because people watch all day long. Like, we really have nothing to do, and so like it's hard to really get away with any move you make, because people are just, there's eyes and ears everywhere. But I remember that the little area I was in, it was the trap house. Not kidding. Like, the girl that slept behind me, she had thousands and thousands on her books. Like, she was the dealer in the pod. They would come over, sniff things, whatever, just do what they do. Well, I remember they pulled out the girl that was next to me. Someone had wrote a kite saying, like, you need to test some of these girls, or you need to test so-and-so because she's going to be dirty. And I remember she was coming home. She was in culinary school, and she came home and she was so mad. And she came in yelling, like, whoever the fuck told on me need to shut their fucking mouth. Like, it's none of your business what I do. So apparently someone wrote a kite to an officer, list of names who would be dirty, and eventually they tested all of the names on those papers. And so that was scary too, because you're just like, oh my gosh, who would do that? Like, And you could also write kites and put it in an envelope and address it to like you wrote a letter to your family. So it could be that sneaky of a way, like, instead of just trying to sneak it to the officer, you could just put it in the mailbox. So there's just a lot of ways, but I do remember that a girl got caught. Yeah, so she got kicked out of culinary school. She got eventually rolled up, because you have something OMAR. So if you get a write-up, you basically go to OMAR. OMAR, I don't remember what it stands for. I guess I could look it up and tell you, but I don't know. And you basically, an officer comes and talks to you. He records the conversation, and you plead guilty or not guilty. And then you explain what happened. And then basically he'll let you know, like, if he found you guilty or not. And then you'll find out what your punishment is, and that could be losing commissary, losing your visits, losing phone privileges, losing your job, not being able to go to school. If you get a write-up, you are not able to go to school. So I remember she was so upset because she was so far in culinary school, and she had to quit school because she got a dirty UA because someone wrote her name on a kite. And she got rolled up and moved out into a different area. I don't know, like, it's basically locked down, and you're stripped of, like, you don't have coffee, you don't have food, you don't nothing. Like, they search your stuff before you go over there, and all you really could take is, like, your clothes, your sheets and blanket, your pillow, and no TV. Like, you have to turn your TV in. You have to turn in any electronics. So a lot of girls would be like, hold my TV, because a lot of times people wouldn't buy TVs on commissary, because if you bought a TV on commissary, you would put your last name and your inmate number. And a lot of times you could get in trouble for that too, because if someone's leaving and they bought a TV, they could turn around and sell it for $100, because they're like $300. So they could turn around and sell it for $100, and there you go. You got a TV for $100. And there are ways that you could carve your own name in it, hand pick it if you wanted to. So I know that a lot of girls, that if you didn't have your last name and inmate number on the TV, and you had to go to lock and your TV was taken, they would take it, and you would not get that TV back if you did not purchase it yourself. Even though you spent $100 on it, you won't get it back because you didn't buy it through commissary. And so a lot of times girls would have their friends hold on to a TV. So I remember one of my friends got rolled up. It was so nice. I had a TV for the last month I was there, because the girl had got in trouble and she had to go. I can't remember what she got in trouble for, but she had to go. She rolled up and go to timeout, basically, or lock, or the whole, yeah, so it was nice, but just a lot of crazy things could happen. So you just have to be very careful. You have to watch your back. You have to be very careful with what you say, what you hear, how you react. You just have to I don't even know. Because like I said, a lot of times it could just be a huge mind fuck to you, and you're already in a vulnerable, fucked up place mentally, emotionally, and things could just eat at you, get to you, trigger you, whatever the case may be. And my advice to you, don't break the law, don't get in trouble, and just stay home. Okay? That's it. Because I would, like I said, I would not wish jail, prison, fed, addiction. So yeah, I would not wish that on anybody ever. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe I taught you a few things that you didn't know. I don't know. Maybe you have a loved one that's in prison right now and you kind of get a little insight on what their life is like right now. Or, you know, maybe their first time down, you could be like, hey, bro, watch your back in there. I just saw this YouTube video. Like, you know, I'm just kidding. But stay safe out there, guys. It's not worth it. It's not. I'm here now and I'm happy, healthy, and being a mama and just staying out of trouble and being sober and sharing my story. Recovery is possible, and you can rebuild your life even after prison, even after addiction. Like, you can. And it'll be okay, and you got this. Have a good night, guys.